for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen down in Vegas, so I'm going to give him a pass on this one, and I'll just take this interview all for myself. It's fine. I don't have any problem with it either. Joining us in studio, first time of the season, which means, of course, we're getting close to hockey season, and it is the coach, André Tourigny, joining us in the studio again as he did all last season, but now officially coach with the gear on, and officially the head coach of the Utah Mammoth. First time we've been able to introduce you that way. Have you liked all of the different changeovers? You knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to be something, and the colors were going to stay about the same. But now it's legit. You have a team mascot, and you're the head coach of the Mammoth.
Yeah, like I said during the season, what I like the process. I like the fact it's the fans who pick the name. So what you want to create that relationship with the fans. You want to create that feeling of belonging and everything. So having them picking the name, I think that's pretty cool. I think now we fight for the name they choose, and I think that helped to create that feeling of belonging.
You know, I think all the times we chatted with you last year, something that you always brought up was, hey, I'm going to let Bill and his guys figure out what we're going to look like on this roster, and then I'm going to take those guys as far as we can take those guys. How much input do you have with, and when you're chatting with these guys and when you're planning some things out, because your roster has a mix of a lot of some new guys, and then some of those youngsters that have taken you guys so far. When you look at the roster top to bottom, how much does it differ from last year compared to with what you were dealing with then, with now? It seems like it's kind of a nice blank canvas for you.
Yeah, it's there's improvement will come from three fronts for me. There's the improvement will come from addition. Peterka, Schmidt, Tanev, Vanecek. That is for sure. That's an improvement. There's young player who are coming as well. Who are pushing guys like Shemeshev, Boot, and Iginla, and others who are trying to push for a place in the lineup. That's another place we can improve. But there's as well the internal growth. There, the Kool-Aid and the Gunner and all. I won't name everybody, but all the players are getting a year older. We're a really young team. So now a year for a young team like us, it's huge. It's a lot of experience, a lot of growth, a lot of maturity who will come in the balance. So I think that is all those three things will make us much better. You
have an interesting setup at the goaltending position. You've got a lot of names there. Obviously, Veggie's going to be that number one guy. What does the rest of the roster look like? And now with Connor coming back and being able to be cleared from the league, and how do you guys balance out what that's going to look like? Because it's going to be very competitive between the pipes.
That everywhere. I think if you look at on the back end, the addition of Schmidt at a group who was already good, we had to. There's a price to pay when you want to get a guy like Peterka, but the addition of Schmidt will make up for the loss of Cass, and we have Shemeshev who's coming in, and we have Simmer, and we have already all our veterans. So it will be really competitive on the back end, and I can go up front and talk about the same thing, the way Yamamoto played last year at the end of the season. Kark's coming back, Obi, and plenty of other young players who will push for a roster spot. Plus the veteran we have, I think that will be it will be the best and the most competitive we had, not just for making the team. It will be to make the roster and then to have the role you want. So everybody who wants to grow their role, there will be a lot of competition.
But there's competition, and that's what brings out the best in these guys, right? So when you sit down and you mention Simachev and Boot and TJ Ginla obviously is a name that people are going to hear, but the reality is that developing those guys and not putting them into a situation too early it's a big deal. You want to make sure they earn that spot before they're there.
I agree with that, but what determined that is them at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's you don't want to rush them, but if they earn it, they earn it. And I hate put a lid on a player. Say, hey, that's the max you can do. Oh, no. Just, we all watch The Last Dance. Would you want to put a lid on Michael Jordan? You don't do that. You just let him be, and if we prove you wrong, prove you wrong. That's it. So that's the way I like to do to be with the player.
You've got a couple of Michael Jordans, I feel like, on this roster, but let's talk about your captain, Clayton Keller. What did he learn last year with that C on the chest and kind of the things that come with all of that? Because asking guys to be phenomenal hockey players, they've done that role before, but then asking them to come in there and then kind of attach a leadership role to it. What does that look like in an NHL locker room?
There's a few layers to your question. First of all, he did an amazing job. I think last year, I remember talking to you and others saying, hey, okay, how that will affect him? Well, he answered best point production in his career. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, nice start.
Nice start. That's A. But B, his leadership was – I really think Kels was ready. We could have done it a year earlier or two or whatever, but I'm not sure that will have been the same result. He was ready. He was groomed. We had – several discussion, and then when it happened, it did not happen like a cannon in the room or whatever. It was just everybody expected it. Everybody knew the direction we were going, or it will go. So I think it was pretty smooth, and he was ready for it. He showed a lot of maturity, a lot more maturity, and he was a good leader for us and a good example. When we talk about our organization, what we want to be all about is maximize our potential. Mm-hmm. We want to every day maximize our potential. Want to do our job. We want to do as best as we can every day. Not on this game on November 18 or on this game on February 1st. No, every day. And Kels is obsessed by improvement. He's obsessed by his growth, and I think he's a great example for the rest of our team.
It's awesome to see the new names coming in, and obviously a lot of those guys have a lot of years of development in front of them. But last year was the year that you guys talked about so many times. Anytime we'd get you talking about it or Bill Armstrong talking about it, it was always a conversation of we've been building up through all of this to finally get to the point where we're going to be a playoff competitive team. And everybody wants to ask that question. If you guys, now that you've had this offseason, and I don't know anybody who works as hard as you do, because I remember at the end of the year it was like, no, I'm still in my office, man. Like, we're like, hey, you on vacation? Because all the other guys in all the other sports, they leave early. You're like, no, I'm in my office, and that's where I'm going to be, and that's where we're working. And I would assume all of the summer was development, watching guys and make sure you're on board. How do you guys turn that corner this year then now? Because I think fans and people are excited, and there's a little bit of that expectation to get to that playoff spot.
If you want to get to the summit of Everest, how you do it? One step at a time. You don't arrive at the first stage and you say, hey, tomorrow I will get to the top. That's not the way it happens.
Right.
You need to one step at a time and you get there. So we feel in the last 4 years we made step. We went to the next station, we went the next station and next station, and we believe that's the next station for us. We believe we're getting there. We're getting at the point where we need to squeeze a little bit everything we get, but we think we have it. We think we have a lot of talent. You mentioned it, yeah. We have young talent. We have young player, which last year it showed that moment where it's 1-1 in the game. Late in the third period against those veteran team, against those Winnipeg and Dallas and Vegas and LA and those kind of team where we were right there with them all the time, but we made one extra mistake. We lack a little bit of patience in those situations, and we paid for it. So we learned from it. You cannot just go in those situations and being hurt and not learning about it. No, it doesn't mean it won't happen again, but it has to happen way less. And then those are a few points there. And with our growth in, because we have a young player, give you a few more points here and there. So hopefully that's the recipe and we can push the cart across the line.
Coach André Tourigny, nice enough to join us on a Friday, which of course all last year he did, and to be able to give us those insights into the Utah Mammoth and this team. We're excited about how this thing's going to go. The rookies all getting together for the showcase, and that roster looks exciting. I bet you look, again, I think with the way you guys look at prospects and guys we don't know, you guys get excited about guys. It's just too many names for us to understand and see.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that you guys being able to see what you have talent-wise, we're excited to see what the preseason is going to bring, what camp is going to bring, and when these guys all get together, We really love chatting with you, Coach. Thanks for being with us on the program today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll take another break here. We'll come back. Our Football Fridays continue. Bear Tourigny, nice enough to join us this Friday, and he'll join us throughout the season at different times and give us some insights into this Utah Mammoth team. Stay right here dialed in. You're home of the Utah Mammoth. It is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.